Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Double Take with the Savior Brothers. My name is Alex Safi. I'm here with my brother, John. John, what is happening on this beautiful Boston morning, one of our last ones in Chestnut Hill?
Well, Monday, May 16th, it's 1 week exactly from graduation, May 23rd. Yep. But it's actually, I was really excited, looking forward to how the NBA aligned with this schedule. We got Heat Celtics, we got it. We're still in Boston. Before we say bye to this horrible place, no, I'm kidding. As much as I hate the Celtics fans and the Patriots fans and the cold weather, appreciate Boston. It's been great 4 years. But really excited, for this conference finals, for this rematch. We've beaten the Celtics in the playoffs for the past 3 times we've met them. So they do owe us Heat fans one. So let's see if they can do it. Is Tatum going to outplay Butler? We'll talk about it.
It's about time they can make it a real rivalry. It's not a real rivalry if we always win. But in any case, John, I am a little bit nervous about the schedule because we have senior week coming up. We got a lot of fun activities, whether it's, there's a Decades Dance. We got the Red Sox game tonight. There's a relay race, barbecue, all this stuff, the commencement ball. So it's going to be hard. Hopefully we can get in enough TV time in front of the TV for this series.
And Game 4 is the day of our graduation. So. Yeah. But yeah, I'm expecting us to come out home court, hold down home court.
Of course, it's Heat in 5. So obviously in this episode we will preview the Heat and the Celtics. And I was actually anticipating doing that first, but my brother John came in to my room this morning and said, "No, Alex, we need to talk about something else first to open the show." So John, why don't you open it up?
I have to start just by saying, holy shit, the Phoenix Suns got absolutely destroyed in a historic fashion. And a lot of people are going to start it by saying this. The Phoenix Suns were destroyed. And I'm not going to do that. Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo, I listened to the first part of their podcast last night after the game. They spent the first 30, 35 minutes of the podcast talking only about the Phoenix Suns.
It's always interesting
how Chris Paul at halftime had 1 point. Devin Booker had 2. Ayton had 3. Bridges had 4. And Crowder had 5. Their starters their whole entire team had 27 points. Luka Doncic alone scored more points than them. Had 27.
Did he have? He had 27 at halftime, or did he have 30 at halftime? I can't remember.
He had 27 at halftime. How they were down by 30. They only lost by, we're going to call it a 33-point loss, but they were down by almost 50 at one point in the game. It was like 45 at one point, okay? And within the first part of the game, our dad texted us.
We did not watch the first quarter.
And we missed the beginning of the game. We caught Game 7 of the Celtics series. We missed the first beginning of the game, but I had a text from my dad off the bat within the first 5 minutes of the game. Luka is smoking hot to start the game. Luka has the eye of the tiger. Okay, so getting those type of texts. So I don't want to start off by just talking about how horrible the Suns are, although that is the big story. To me, it's about Luka's coming of age point in his NBA career. Okay, he's less than a year older than us, so he's 23 years old. It's crazy to think about.
He's 23 or 22?
He's 23. We're 22. He's 11 months older than us, exactly. So he's 23 years old right now. And it is just absolutely insane just to think about his trajectory right now. And we've talked about this because I think he was on the MVP radar when we first started doing this show. Yeah. He started off, had a really good season, I think in the 2020 season, I want to say, when we first started doing this podcast. And it was like Giannis versus Luka.
That was his second year.
And Luka's stats looked great. They had a second seed in the West, and they were doing really well. They kind of teetered off towards the end of the year. I think he got hurt a little bit. Then, next year you're expecting it to happen. It doesn't happen. He has an incredible playoff performance in the bubble. And of course, they lose to the Clippers.
That's right. We had so many episodes. Luka Mania.
Yeah, so exactly.
Luka Mania again.
And that was when he was 21 years old, right? So that's 21-year-old Luka. He had an incredible first-round series against Paul George. Did it against Paul George, and he did it against Kawhi Leonard. 2 great perimeter defenders.
Last year, they go up 2-0 in LA, and then obviously losing that Game 7, which Luka had said helped them out this year, this time around.
And then he loses again to that Clippers team. Didn't get out of the first round. And Bill Simmons and they did talk about how people last year when Trey made it to the conference finals, the Trey versus the Luka trade, is that really such a lopsided trade? Of course, it still is. And thank God Luka finally proved it, because if you're comparing him to LeBron, which he has gotten those comparisons, there's going to be a year where that guy is going to get a team over the hump, get a team to a point that they probably shouldn't have gotten to, and no one was expecting them to.
Transcend. That's my favorite word to use in these
They transcend. And That's what yesterday was. And so to me, as much as we're Heat fans, whatever, the Heat, we beat the Sixers, whatever, we're going to play the Celtics. There's a lot to talk about there. But this is the storyline. The Suns sucking is a huge storyline as well. But I just wanted to take a moment to say, for Luka Doncic at age 23, this is it. This is his moment. And believe it or not, if you think about these 4 teams right now, and as a Heat fan, I get excited about this too. It is wide open right now. Mm-hmm. There's no juggernaut. And I said this on our last episode, and I'll take maybe a little victory lap on this take. It's closer to being March Madness. Like, the NBA is getting closer to that.
Well, we've been used to seeing all the Warriors and the Heat and even the Spurs and whoever else dominate.
Right.
Or really LeBron dominate.
And that's my point.
It's more open.
And I think people say, oh, I like people like our roommate Jason, who isn't a big basketball fan. He's like, college basketball, it's a better product, than NBA basketball. And that's because, you can show up at, without any knowledge at all. You could watch like the St. Peter's Peacocks play and like you could be engaged. Whereas like knowing that all, throughout the season, who's the star and which team is good and which, in the NBA, it's less like that. It's like there's the Warriors and they're going to win, and there's the LeBron team and they're going to win. There's the Spurs dynasty. And this year it's really like much more like you could watch any given game or any given series, and like I picked my Final Four before. I feel like I'm much better picking the playoffs. My Final Four, though, I picked 3 out of 4 incorrect. I had Heat. I had the Suns, who lost. I had the Grizzlies, who I actually think they would have taken out.
Yeah, that was wrong. You shouldn't have
with Ja, I think they're
totally better without Ja.
No, okay, you're insane for saying that.
You in theory.
I'm going to take away this microphone from you saying that. That's insane. And who was the last team I had? And I had the Bucks over the Celtics. Okay. So I was wrong on 3 out of the 4 teams. What does that sound like? It sounds more like March Madness to me. So,
or maybe you're just wrong.
I just think I love the fact that there's no, Kevin Durant on a 73-9 team just dominating. So
you're right, John,
NBA is much more fun right now.
It is, and I want to ask you a quick question. Who do you think is the best player left now in these playoffs? Because before, I think it was clearly Giannis. There was no doubt about it. Now, who's it?
To me, it's not a question. It's Luka. It has to be Luka, and I think
his team also has the worst chance to win the finals right now.
According to
Vegas, and I would agree with that. I think his team has the worst chance.
I guess we're gonna. Well, why don't we start? Why don't we start and do our Final Four picks?
I actually want to talk a little bit about Phoenix, because you're right. I'm glad
we'll do Phoenix.
You gave Luka his flowers and whatnot. One thing I do want to say, I want to add on top of that, and that I honestly, this is a storyline that flew under the radar and I missed, was this is Luka playing against a team that could have drafted him number 1 overall. And until, honestly, a couple days ago, I wasn't even thinking about it. Oh my gosh, this is such a Luka opportunity for revenge. And it's incredible that, they drafted DeAndre Ayton, and then he doesn't even get drafted until, I guess, technically, really 2 more teams passed on him. And here he is, absolutely torching them. He's better than Devin Booker. He's better than Chris Paul, and he's definitely better than DeAndre Ayton. He might be better than all 3 of them combined. So it's really, really interesting to see, how that all panned out for Dallas, making that trade. But I think that, Phoenix was a team this year that surpassed my expectations. I didn't expect them. I expect them to have kind of a title hangover. They came in, they dominated all regular season long, and then they looked very human in the first round when they played the Pelicans. Obviously, Devin Booker was out,
which is a big emphasis on that for there, because that's, to me, was my one thing. All right, they're missing the guy that we say is their best player, so they'll come back.
Yeah, and this series, I think. Clearly, Chris Paul towards the end of the series, I don't know if it was injury or what, we would have more information typically, but I feel like he's usually more upfront about that. But it seemed like there was something off in the last, I think, 5 or 6 games of the series. There's some stat of he would just, the first 2 he played all right, and the last 5 he just was, all his numbers were down, was not playing well. And last night, I mean, at halftime, John, what were Booker and Chris Paul's stats? Were they?
So at halftime, CP3 and Booker were 0 for 11. Just from the field. And to me, and they had 1 point and 3 points.
And Luka had 27 at that point. So it was just absurd, and they completely fell apart. And all season long, what did you tell me? You convinced me. We were picking what teams to throw a little money on for this afternoon. Of course, we picked the Bucks. We weren't going to throw on the Celtics. Maybe we should have jinxed the Celtics. But we definitely jinxed the Suns, John, because you said, listen, Alex, This series, every single game has been a blowout. And I said, it doesn't matter, bro. It's game 7. Anything can happen. I try to compare it to 2016 versus Cleveland. I said Cleveland, that whole series, there was all these blowouts, whoever won the game. And then game 7 was low scoring and it was a close game. And he said, nah, like, dude, just they're a better team. They're in Phoenix. They're not going to lose in Phoenix. And I guess in my head when I was trying to make that argument to you, I'm like, listen, in a game 7, Luka can pull it out in the end. It didn't even happen. The game was over by halfway through the second quarter. It didn't matter.
That's what is so insane about it, because you could see a world in which, and this is what I said going into the game. I picked both game 7s 100% wrong yesterday. I said Giannis is the better player. I'm gonna see the better player take over in that series. He has enough help to get it done. Best player is gonna win out. In the Mavs Suns series, I said the Suns are the better team. Luka's the best player. He's one of the best players, but he doesn't have enough. He doesn't have what it takes, or like not that he doesn't have it. He doesn't have the support to get him over that hump.
Sleeping on Dinwiddie and Bertans, bro.
I did, because in the first 2 games, in game 1 and 2 of that series, Luka has 45 and 35. What were the first 2 games? They were 0 and 2.
L.
Exactly. Games 3 and 4. Luka had 26 and 26. Yeah. So he scored 20 less points and 10 less points, yet they had won both those games. Mm-hmm. Your role players show up at home. So was I expecting Spencer Dinwiddie to start off scorching hot, and within the first half of the game, or what is it, the first quarter?
I think both of the Phoenix.
Yeah, the first quarter he had Luka had 19 and Dinwiddie had 18, and Dinwiddie was 4 for 5 from 3. And what do the Suns do? The Suns had a 17-point quarter in the first quarter. What do they follow that up with in the second quarter?
10
points in the second quarter.
And that's the thing that's
it's historically
at halftime seeing
fluky.
The score was like, okay, like they're up 30. That's absurd. But not only that, is they only scored 27 in one half, and it's obviously crazy for any team, any playoff team, to score that many in a half. But for it to be the number 1 title contender, the best team all season long, the team that was favored, and for them to fall completely apart. It's not like they had a bad series and they just got like they lost in 5 games. They fell apart the whole. It was all series long that they actually had it together. And then today or yesterday in Game 7 at home, everything falls apart. Not even like one quarter. It was the entire game.
I'll say yes and no, and this is why. After they go up 2-0, what did you think that series would be?
I thought it'd be 5 or 6 games.
I thought 5 or 6.
I said, Luka will get one. I actually, in game 4 was the game I thought Phoenix would take 3-1 lead.
Right. And that's kind of my point.
Also.
Is
now
like,
it's 2-2.
I think there were some signals there that the Suns weren't all that. And for that reason is that, like, if they're really that team, they should be able to win it on the road, right? I think Dallas, great crowd.
I agree.
Dallas, role players really showed up on the road.
And you got to give credit to Dallas.
But Chris Paul... Oh my goodness, Paul was. I'm a big Chris Paul guy. I wanted him to see him win. I wanted him to get a ring.
And John, I think that the biggest issue is it turns out a 2-0 lead for Chris Paul is the kiss of death, because he is now the only player to have blown 4 2-0 leads in the playoffs, and the only player to ever lose or to ever blow 5.
Oh man,
2-0
so
leads.
bad.
So Chris Paul 5 times in his career has been up 2-0 and has lost. So at this point, you might rather just have a 1-1 series for Chris Paul, because he might have a better chance of pulling that one out.
It's actually that stat is crazy. I mean, it goes to the Doc Rivers jokes,
Yeah.
right? Of the fact that he's blown 3-1 leads, and I mean, can't believe that those two guys are playing together. You know,
And
even worse.
Really quick before we move on, John, I do want to say something about this big picture, the way I'm looking at the Suns. I used to be, maybe the last couple years, especially when Devin Booker was younger, I was a big Devin Booker guy. I liked his game. He was more under the radar. He was low key, so I liked him. I think over this last series, I love Luka obviously. So him being posed against Luka didn't help my favoritism towards him, especially all the trash talk, all the talking about him in the press conference, him rolling around on the floor like a baby and calling it the Luka special. And I saw some stats like since Devin Booker said that, Luka had scored like in the series 67 points and Booker had like only 30.
Right.
So. But Devin Booker is a guy who I think I'm just a hater now. I'm not really a Devin Booker. I'm officially off the Devin Booker bandwagon. I'm doubling down on the Luka bandwagon.
Yeah, just a few good tweets. Andre Drummond, Luka, what the actual fuck? You are a bad man. Bad man, my friend. And just Twitter just blows up. It's either for Luka, another from StatMuse. He had more points than Booker this series. Not surprising. He had more rebounds than DeAndre Ayton. He had more assists than Chris Paul, and he had more steals than Mikal Bridges. So he literally just outplayed every single one of their starters. That was one of the things that everyone said was, oh, they're such a well-rounded team. They have the right perimeter guys. They have the rebounders. They have the point guard. They have the scorers. Like, we just, they're a complete team. And just to, I guess, get on my little have my Booker opinion thrown out there. I just don't think he's not going to be that guy. He's going to have to prove that at some point if he considers himself that guy, if he's going to get that max contract. But to me, he has not proven that he is that guy. And he's had games where he scored a lot of points.
He didn't have to be the guy.
But
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and I think, one of our friends actually, Kurt, texted the other day, he's saying, oh, this is ridiculous, the Jokic thing. I know his stats were incredible, but Jokic being MVP, and he was kind of comparing it more so than the average person to what Westbrook's MVP trophy was in 2017 when he averaged a triple-double. He's saying he had incredible stats, he was a 6 seed and got killed, and he was irrelevant in the playoffs. Who's usually the MVP? The best player on the best team. And I go, so who is that? Are you advocating for Giannis? And he goes, Booker.
Booker was the best player on the best team.
I actually don't even think so. I think.
What do you mean? The best team was Phoenix, and he is. Are you gonna argue Chris Paul then?
I guess yeah. I would say Chris Paul more so than Booker.
Brings more value, maybe, but
Booker's a scorer, but to me, it's maybe I could say is he's like Kevin Durant. The way I criticize Kevin Durant and just say, oh, he's just a scorer. He's not gonna take a team and transform their ceiling and their you could take a team of just a bunch of role players and make all these guys better, optimize who they are, whatever. He's not that guy. Kevin Durant is not that guy. He's not the way LeBron is, Giannis is. Even I would say the way Jimmy Butler does. Okay, of course, I'm not saying Jimmy Butler is better than Durant, but I'm saying more well-rounded,
versatile. Who shows
whatever.
Up in the playoffs?
Yeah, actually, you know what? I will say that Jimmy Butler is better than Kevin Durant.
I'd rather have the player, whether or not Kevin Durant's another story, but I'd rather have the player who rises to the occasion and their stats improve or their overall play improves. They're more effective in the playoffs rather than regular season.
Right.
In any case, John, I think. It's time. Why don't we transition to the Heat and we can finish off giving some title picks.
Do we want to pick Mavs where we talk about that series and then get into Heat Celtics first?
All right,
let's do it. We're on Luka now.
No, we should.
Let's continue with the Luka train.
Yeah. Well, how are you feeling about that series? I think it's going to be a similar narrative. Better. It's going to be a better team versus the best player. But I think there's definitely some matchup issues with Luka. The Warriors, even with their so-called new death lineup, are not the same defensively as we've seen them be in the past, 5 or so years, 10 years, whatever. So how do you think Luka will fare? And would you pick the Mavs, John, today? Are you gonna pick the Mavs?
So I don't think I'm gonna bet money on them. I think I'm gonna stay away from betting on any of these teams in this round.
Just bet on the teams we want to lose.
No, okay, I don't think so. I lost too much on the Suns and Bucks futures. I honestly can't believe it. But so I'm not gonna bet. Again, it's coming more like March Madness. So you know what? Not these bets that feel predictable are not as predictable. But I think right now it's hard to pick Luka, considering that he just pulled off this upset that I did not consider him.
It's hard to pick against him. You mean?
No, I'm saying to pick him, considering the fact that I was so sure. Suns are going to pull it out. Look at this series. It's been a blowout for the home team in each game. The Suns, they're the team. They're going to go to the top. They were my team that I picked to win it, and I still probably would have had them all the way out, through. Obviously, they didn't look good. They were hobbled coming in, whatever. But so it's hard for me to immediately just flip that switch and be like, wait, no, it's going to be Luka. But I guess now maybe I more so just like the winner of that series. I liked the Suns if they won, and I liked Dallas and Luka if they won, because the Warriors to me have not and people have doubted the Heat and what we've done, but I think there's cases where you've seen our flaws, but you've seen, all right, our guys get hot, our shooters get hot, Jimmy has showed up. You cannot deny that Jimmy has been incredible during these playoffs. You cannot deny that our defense and our scheming and strategy and coaching against a guy like Trae Young. Yes, we should have beaten them. We should have swept them or beat them 4-1, whatever. They ended up getting one in a close game. We ended up shutting him down, and that's what a good team's supposed to do. Next round, we were supposed to beat the Sixers, and we ended up doing just that, okay? So to me, it's well, where do I feel like that Warriors are with that? To me, what were the Warriors supposed to do? First round, yes, they were supposed to sweep or finish in 5. They did just that. They looked great in the first round. Second round, I was not impressed. I think that when Ja left, and I know that, they're so much better without Ja, whatever. There's these stats that were 20-5 in the regular season. It's still insane that that team was able to absolutely just destroy in Game 5. The Warriors were up 3-1. That's
insane.
a whole nother
no
insane.
I get it. You're in Memphis, but dude, you guys got to close out. You know, they don't, and that's I think why we've kind of been getting at. There's no one dominant team. Maybe we'd expect it to be the Warriors.
And for me, it's not Golden State at all. I can't believe they're favored.
The Warriors are not. Yeah, they're the right now. They're the title favorite.
I would have expected it to be the Celtics. I feel like would I pick them right now? I mean, maybe I guess we're gonna get to that. I'm gonna have to, at some point in the next 15 minutes, whatever. But right now, to me, the Warriors are not that favorite team, because I don't think to me, who's your guy? Steph? No, I know it sounds crazy. Steph has not been incredible these playoffs.
Well, in the playoffs, let me give you some numbers.
He looked really good. He looked really good in the first round against Denver, but they were playing against nobody.
Since the beginning of the season, where it was really hot, and then there was some stat where there was just one turning point. I can't remember what it was, and all of a sudden he was shooting above league average from 3-point, but by his standards it was terrible. Right, so in the playoffs right now he's 45 from the field, which is pretty standard for him, but he's 35.9 from 3-point range and 81 on free throws. So Curry is clearly, he's not who he once was. Maybe whatever, I don't know, there's nagging injuries. He can have a rebirth or something, a season where he still has a comeback. But, he's not who he once was. Klay Thompson has been a dead eye from threes at 40% still. Jordan Poole, 39% from three, and so has Wiggins. So those three other guys have been giving you what they're giving you. Draymond on defense, he's not really doing anything on offense, but on defense he's still doing what he does. But overall, yeah, I think it's gonna come down to Curry versus Luka, in my opinion. I don't know if you would go as far as to say that.
I wouldn't say that,
because I think that while Curry's not as dominant, and while the supporting cast of the Warriors is not like what it used to be, even without Durant, where they had like the deepest bench in the league. I think it's going to be a Curry versus Luka series, and if Luka outplays Curry, I think they have a great chance of winning.
So where I disagree is I actually think it's a given. I think Luka will outplay Curry, and if you're Curry, and if you're the guy, you're whatever. People want to say you're a top 15 guy.
It has to be like Luka's like clearly like much better than Curry. If Curry's like if Luka's giving you an A+ and Curry's at like an A-, so I guess I'm retracting my statement, then I still think the Warriors could have a good shot, depending on the other guy.
Because they got Jordan Poole.
Yeah.
Klay gets hot one game. I don't know how did you feel about Alex if you saw Klay's game 6 when he's running around holding up his hands 6?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
he's kind of saying, game 6 Klay. Like, all right,
it is
that's
what
cool.
It is. It's fine.
I mean,
yeah,
you should easily have one at home.
They should have won in
game
Game 5,
but
no, Klay, for some reason in Game 6 he does decide he's just gonna hit like 5 or more threes.
No, yeah, and he was great. He hit 30. That was probably, easy you could say, his best game of the playoffs. But the Warriors, I think you get a guy like Jordan Poole, huge X factor. Mm-hmm. But to me, if you're Curry and you're considered a top 15 guy ever, top 20 guy ever by most people, he was voted top 75. Right, he's the only top 75 player remaining in this playoffs. How do we feel about the fact? I mean, he's got his coach. He's got Draymond. Klay is not fully there defensively. Of course, he's not the same. He's had some bad shooting games, whatever. But you got Poole. You got a fairly good role player. All the role players. You're the favorite right now. Yeah. If he's that guy, Steph Curry, win it. Like, am I crazy for putting these expectations on him? And my point is, I think this is going to be a bad series for his career, because I think he's going to get outplayed by Luka. I don't know if that's crazy to say.
That's fine. So I guess I'm going back a little bit on what I was saying. If he gets outplayed by Luka, that's fine as long as he still plays well and they win. If he has a series like he did in 2015 in the finals and they still end up winning, where he really had like he strung together a few really, really good quarters, but overall he did not dominate and he didn't win the finals MVP. So actually, speaking of finals MVP, now there's these conference MVPs. Curry, that'll be good. If Curry wins that MVP trophy, John, I think that it's fine. However, if Luka wins this series and Curry loses, if Luka wins and Curry loses, then it's gonna hurt Curry's all-time standing, in my opinion.
They're the favorite.
And it should do everything for Luka. It should, in my opinion, hoist Luka into top 75. You look at
he already is there.
Year 4, LeBron James takes the Cavs when no one expected them to into the finals at age 22. Luka's age 23. But can he do it in year 4, just like LeBron did? And that's, I think, why this is such a fun series. Especially when LeBron was up against like that Detroit team who had been there, who had won before. Luka's against this Golden State team, which I think is a very vulnerable team. This is not the Golden State of the past, as you said. So, anyway, John, let's just make really quick picks right now. Pick what team and how many games for that series, and then we need to get to Miami.
I guess I have to say Mavericks in 6 games. I think they don't if it goes to 7 and if they're in not Oracle, if they're in San Francisco, the Chase Center, I think you don't want to do that. They just pulled it off against Phoenix. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, so they looked pretty good going out west into Phoenix and California. But you don't want to have to pull that off 2 straight times. I think that's a lot. Luka could do it. I think he's that guy. And again, like I said, there's a time where if you're really one of the greats, pretty early on, you're going to pull off, slaying the dragon. And Luka just slayed the dragon. And it was incredible. But I think they're going to have to win it earlier in this series. They could go to 7, but I think you want to finish it out at home. So I think they're going to split the first 2.
I think they need to split the first 2. I don't know if they can go down 2-0 again.
I think they split the first 2. I think you go home now, and they're going to have to either... Ideally, they win those both home games and they go up 3-1, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm assuming, right, if Steph's great, to me, it's like really, it's on him. The team goes as far as he takes them, and if they can split there, then I guess I'm going to pick Game 5, either the Warriors win it if they're down 3-1, and then Mavs finish out in 6, or I think if it's split 2-2, I do think the Mavericks are going to take Game 5. Yeah. I just trust Luka there. I'm going to pick him over this Warriors team.
I agree similarly. I'm picking Luka in 7. Okay. Luka in 7.
Jeez.
I don't care about the Mavs. I don't care about the Warriors. I'm just saying Luka in 7. No, they can do it. It's fine. I get it. They just had a tough 7-game series now, but I don't think. I guess I have too much respect for the Warriors to think they'll lose in 6. I guess so I could be wrong on that, but that's what I'm just going to go with.
I have a question. Franchise redraft. What player do you take number 1 overall? Starting.
Giannis. Still taking
Giannis.
Giannis. Okay. Give me Giannis.
I'll take Luka.
Both ends.
I'll take Luka number 1 or number 2. Who do you take number 3?
Number 3? It's got to be Jokic then.
Really?
Number 3 for everyone in the NBA? Who else? For the next 10 years.
Okay.
It's got to be Jokic. Who else are you going to take?
I was thinking of trade value. How high is everyone's trade value? I guess it's him.
Those 3 guys. It's those 3 guys.
To me, Ja's like right up there, I feel like.
It's those 3 guys. Tatum, Ja, Booker. I don't know what to do with that.
No. I feel like now there's a drop off.
Who are we forgetting? I guess Cade is going to be up there.
No, not yet. Zion.
As far as Zion value, yes,
Zion was supposed to be there, but obviously the past 2 seasons you're falling off there.
Anyway, all right. I cannot believe it has been 30 minutes, John, and we have not talked about the Heat. I don't know if we can officially call ourselves a Miami Heat podcast anymore. We're just a general NBA podcast.
Ew.
But the Miami Heat are once again going to play the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, John. This is a rematch of the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals and the 2020 Eastern Conference Finals, both series which the Miami Heat won. And so, John, we have a lot of friends in the Boston area. We talk a lot of trash all season long, especially as we walked out of the January 30th game when the Heat had just lost by, 30 points to the Celtics. And the Celtics were the 10 seed.
Which, by the way, we didn't have any of our guys that game. We were missing 3 starters.
Lowry, missing Jimmy,
PJ Tucker.
I believe Bam played. We're walking out, and they just, destroyed us. But we were saying, yeah, good luck in the play-in game, guys. You guys are the 10 seed. And what happened? They then proceed to have the best second half of the season of any team, and really, honestly, it was historic.
Yeah, it was one of the best turnarounds ever, for sure.
And now somehow I really never thought on that day or all season long I didn't think we'd get here. I still picked Milwaukee to win last round 2, but here we are, John, and it's going to be a fun series. It will be very different, and actually Eric Spoelstra just this morning said not much can be taken from the 2020 series because both teams have evolved. A lot has changed. And now, John, I want to ask you a quick question. I don't know if you know the answer to this. I hope you didn't look too much at my notes. How many players from the 2020 Eastern Conference Finals will be playing in the 2022 Eastern Conference Finals? Just off the top of your head.
2020, 2022, okay.
Between, let's say there was 30 players between both teams.
I guess I would say I'm gonna guess that it's less than I'm expecting, but it's most of the core guys and to me we have PJ now. We had Crowder then, and now we have Tucker. Yeah. So we swapped those guys out.
We swapped the same core on for Lowry.
Yes, Lowry for going. But I think it's similar. It's the same core. Easily, I want to say 3 of them. We got Hero, we got Bam, we got Jimmy.
I'll just give you the answer. No, give me a number.
Tatum.
Give me a number.
10.
Okay, it is exactly 10.
Wow.
So
There.
the Heat have Jimmy,
I'm a great
Bam,
guesser.
Duncan, and Hero. That's kind of crazy to me. That we have 4 players from that 2020
That is
title
insane.
run. It's wild.
I would have thought there's one more.
And I was
no,
thinking,
wait,
you
hold
know-
on. What do you Haslam? I mean,
Okay, but that he's not. He didn't get any minutes.
Okay.
Guys
Guys
who
who got minutes.
So guys who
Okay.
are playing. And now the other team, you have Tatum, Brown, Smart, Grant Williams, Robert Williams, and Daniel Tice.
which is funny because I think really when I think of that team too, it's like there was a lot of Kemba in there. Hayward came back.
That's why.
right?
That's why Tyler Hero had 37 in Game
Right.
4. You know,
No,
Kemba.
he
They
cooked-
torched Kemba.
And he
And
cooked Jaylen Brown. and
That's
Jason
maybe
Tatum.
what Spo's getting at. The biggest difference in this series now is they don't have a weak link. There's no one you can hunt. And maybe that's why we haven't been playing Duncan Robinson, because, you know, Spo doesn't want a guy that you can just hunt, especially when you're already playing Tyler Hero, who's more of a guy that you can hunt on, you know, through screens to try to score on him. But
Alex, I have a question for you.
okay.
Who's the best player in this series?
It has to be
Say
Tatum.
the name and then explain it.
It has to be Tatum.
Okay.
And if you asked me before the playoffs, I probably wouldn't even have said that, just because, you know, I'm still a Tatum hater or whatever. He's a Celtic, and I didn't want to give him respect. But I will say, between the last 2 series against Brooklyn and against Milwaukee, he's absolutely earned all the respect in the world. So I have to give him the edge, even though I think Jimmy's a guy who, when he's at his best in the playoffs, and we've seen him at his best in the playoffs a lot, especially, you know, that past few years, 2020, this year, he can compete with Tatum. So Tatum's the best player in the series, and if he doesn't, okay, bless you. If he doesn't perform as the best player in the series, which I think is a possibility, then I don't think they have a chance of winning.
These allergies are getting me. Sorry. No, what I was gonna say is, to me, the big game, the Tatum game. So, you know, they sweep the Nets, of course, and to me, after that, it's like everyone realized the Nets were not that great. Yes, it was incredible. It's what a good team does. You sweep a not great team. They had KD and Kyrie, whatever. Swept them. Let's see what they do now against the Bucks. That's a tough matchup.
Yeah.
I picked Bucks in 7, and Bucks go up 3-2. Heartbreaking loss for the Celtics at home. We're up 6 at the end of the game.
That was amazing.
Heartbreaking loss.
Such
okay?
a great moment.
And I can't understand this, but Tatum showed up in game 6
in Milwaukee.
That was
He
his
did it.
best game.
That's what stars do.
That's the best
The
game of his
superstars
career.
do.
And to me, if he can continue to show up like that, Tatum is a blue chipper. Tatum is one of those guys. To me, he's not there yet. Before that, I don't think he had played too well in the series. He did not, definitely not in the first few games, right? But came out 46 points, and he had 16 in the fourth quarter. Okay, that must win. And like, listen, I'm going against all my rules here to compare him to a Miami Heat player named LeBron James. But similarly, LeBron James in 2012, down 3-2, blew Game 5 at home. You're going away for Game 6 against, you know, a crazy crowd, right? The Bucks crowd, they were loud. Oh my God, they were so loud in that game, and they needed to close out. And Giannis, back to MVP.
What do you have? 44, 20, and
Giannis had 44 and 20 rebounds.
yeah.
Okay,
And then you look at all the other guys, and no one
insane.
can hit shit.
So yeah, so to that point, yes, they did. They were missing Chris Middleton, and so the Bucks were.
I want to say this. Can we say this before? If Chris Middleton is healthy, this is not even. We're not even talking about this, okay?
It would still be a
because I know we're all
series.
gonna be, especially if the Celtics, who I will say they absolutely have a chance to win. They're a favorite in this series. If they make the finals, we're gonna forget about this Chris Middleton thing, and I think I'm contractually obligated as a Boston sports hater that if Chris Middleton's healthy, you know,
I will mention it too, but I'm not going to say it was a given. I'm not going to say it was a given that they would just win. I think the Bucks team desperately, like, gosh, there were so many Grayson Allen minutes. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was shocking.
Oh, it was
I think
horrible.
someone tweeted like, what dirt does Grayson Allen have on Mike Budenholzer that he just keeps playing?
No. Truthfully, to me, it felt like just eye test, because I could not tell you how many points he
none of
averaged.
those guys were hitting anything.
I cannot tell you his shooting. I cannot tell you anything about Grayson. All I can tell you is that every single time that I watched one of these 7 games and I saw Grayson Allen with the ball, I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And then something bad happened usually. Like, I can't remember the time that it's like, oh, he just hit a couple shots in a row. Or like, oh, he just had a nice play. Like, whatever. He had maybe a nice defensive play here or there. But no. So, to me, yes. Chris Middleton replacing Grayson Allen minutes, yes. Like, totally. But at the same time, to me, again, like I said, Tatum goes in Game 6 at home for the Bucks. So, on the road. Has 46, 16 in the fourth quarter. And if you go back and watch, He right back when the Bucks made their run, they were, the Celtics were up a good like 10-ish or it was 20-ish, whatever at one point, and they cut it down to 4. But Tatum said, "I'm not gonna let them come closer," and he shot, and the shot went in. Yeah. Okay, so my question here is, does Jason Tatum outplay Jimmy Butler? To me, if Jason Tatum's gonna be that guy, it's Celtics in 6.
No,
it's Celtics in 6.
All right, no. Now all right, yeah, slow your roll, bro. Tatum can play well and maybe even slightly outplay Butler, and we can still win. The whole thing about this Heat team all season long has been our depth. Boston's a deep team too, especially defensively. But our depth is what has made us. And it's something that I was disappointed in, particularly in Philadelphia in Game 4 when we had the chance to go up 3-1, close it out at home in Game 5, and then, have even more rest, right? Which we should have done as the 1 seed, as a team that we wanted to be a dominant team like that. And I was disappointed in that Game 4 because Jimmy Butler had absolutely no help. Okay, he's doing everything for us. He's getting every bucket. He's keeping us single-handedly in that game when no one was making anything. I can't remember what we shot. I guess over those 2 games we shot we made 16 threes out of 65 or something like that. You're not winning. You're not going to win at either of those games if you shoot that poorly. And all season long, best 3-point shooting team in the league. And we did have Duncan Robinson on the bench. That was questionable, maybe. But no one's making anything. Oladipo's struggling. Shooters struggling. So this series, I think, John, the X factors, it's not going to come down to Jimmy. If Jimmy doesn't play well, we're not winning. That's not even a question. Jimmy needs to play well. This is more of a Heat side of things. But we need the X factors, in my opinion. It's not even necessarily anyone on Boston. Because, if Grant Williams, hits, 8 threes again, it's going to be very tough for us to win, especially if our other guys aren't playing well. But X factors, in my opinion, first off, is Bam. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder, didn't win the Defensive Player of the Year, and now you have the Defensive Player of the Year on the other team. You go number 2.
We do. We need a massive series from Bam.
We do. We need, especially, he remember closeout game, 30, I think 6 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists in the closeout game in Game 6 in the bubble for 2020 versus
dropped
Boston.
32 in that game.
So, Bam, I need a big series from him. Not just defensively. I want him to torch them at least like for a quarter a game. Just be aggressive, which we always want him to do. Hero's got to get his stuff together because he has not been great over the last 2 series. Really, last round he
was good at home in the first 2 games against Philly. He was.
That's true. But the last few games, he's been more of kind of just a decoy of he's been on the court and he's been opening up lanes for other people and he's a threat and people are gonna give him attention. But if he's not showing anything, that's gonna be very tough for us to win. Strus also huge. Strus needs to have a Duncan level of a Duncan 2020 playoff run type of series this round. He needs to be on. He needs to be hitting at least a few games, threes a game. He needs to have a few, maybe 2 games in this series where he just goes ballistic and hits 6-7 threes. And I think also, the list goes on of Oladipo. You're gonna have at least a game where Oladipo goes off.
Man, there's just so many moving parts.
Versus the Celtics, we had the hero game where he had, or in 2020, we had the hero game where he dropped 20, 37, I believe.
Jeez, 37.
We had an Andre Iguodala game too. We had a Bam game. So if it's all Jimmy, the whole series goes without saying. This could be over. Honestly, I hate to say it, in 5 games if it's just Jimmy. If our other guys don't show up. So it's gonna come down to, I guess I just literally almost named everyone else as the X factors, but I think honestly I'll just to narrow it more down, I'll say Hero, Strus, and Oladipo, because especially with Kyle Lowry, who he didn't practice today, John. He will likely not be playing tomorrow in Game 1. We don't know what we're getting from him. When he did play against Philly in Game 4, he was just so bad.
It's tough, but I'm excited to watch Gabe Vincent in this series, and Gabe Vincent is easily better than a hobbled Kyle Lowry, which sucks because Kyle Lowry has been so important for us when our guys have been hurt, and we kind of built around him and the shooters and whatever when Jimmy was out, when Bam missed time. But if he's hobbled, we cannot play him, and I'm excited to see Gabe Vincent just take out Marcus Smart in the series.
All right. Rapid fire, John. I want you to pick who you're gonna favor on these specific topics. All right, Coach. Ime or Spo?
Spo.
All right, so we have them there.
Unquestionably.
Star, Tatum or Butler?
To me, that's a coin flip.
Really? Okay.
That's neck and neck.
All right. I feel like it's Tatum, but I'm glad you think it's a coin flip.
I do.
Supporting
I won't pick one.
Supporting cast / bench. Who do you favor?
I guess my initial instinct is Miami.
I favor Miami as well.
But the thing is, if we can easily have a game where Bam's looks like a schmuck, and and if Horford just.
Horford
has
dropped 30.
That's my thing. So if Horford has 30 and Grant Williams, so the Celtics have their games where their guys have showed up at home, but that's why home court's going to be huge. So for that reason, I'll give our role players playing better because I think our role players will be better because we have more home games than theirs will.
I agree. Let's go defense. Who do you favor?
That one also to me is neck and neck.
I actually still favor Boston. So,
I was just saying
that. I guess I'm higher on Boston than you are. Offensively, who do you favor? That's a tougher one, I think. Because that depends more on the stars.
Yeah, to me, that's like, all right, like we said, like I think Jimmy he's definitely 1,000% has been more consistent than Tatum. That's just a fact. He's been more consistent this playoffs. Maybe you could argue, okay, he had better defense, Tatum had better defense against him in this last series. But I think that offensively, those two guys will be there. Actually, I'm more confident in Jimmy being there, and I'm not as sure if Tatum will be there. So then the second stars, who do we think of? I'm probably more confident in Brown than I am in like Bam.
Yeah, that was the next question.
And Hero. So I think the second tier guys. So I think offensively, it's for Miami. Like this is the sad thing to admit because I was so confident we were gonna beat them in the bubble. I truly was. Like there was no question in my mind. And like we ended up dominating them. We did. We went up 2-0. They won the next game. We went up 3-1. So we did dominate them. This series, like you said, there's a sad reality in which our shooters just we're a live by the shot, die by the shot team, and I think that's the truth. And I think if Strus looks great and Gabe looks great and Depot starts hitting him in the corner and Tucker's hitting him in the corner, oh my God! Because again, I think first 2 games at home in Miami, is Grant Williams having that game in Miami?
Well,
is Jaylen Brown having a great game in Miami?
On Grant Williams, John, there was no one guarding him.
Yeah,
so I know especially for our Celtics fan friends who are like Grant Williams, and someone posted, Grant Williams like greater than sign and Giannis, and it's like it was shocking to me how open he was, especially after how many he was hitting so early on, and he's got to give him respect because that's something that's different about that 2020 series to this one. Grant Williams was a very good defender, he was a strong defender, and that series wasn't good on offense. Now he's a great defender, I'd argue, and he's been a great. I actually don't know his numbers, but he's been knocking down every single 3 that it seems.
Who do you think? But
he has been wide open, so I'm assuming the Heat are gonna, not
right. And it's like to me, it's like he's like kind of in their PJ role, except he has more role than PJ. But my question is, who do you think guards Jimmy?
So all right, actually, I'll give you. Here's who I think the defensive matchups will be. I think to start the game, I want PJ on Tatum, because obviously we're gonna be switching it.
Yeah, we'll switch.
I want PJ on Tatum. Could it be Jimmy?
Bam on Tatum?
It could be Bam.
No,
honestly,
it won't be. If they get
because
Robert
you could honestly. I guess you couldn't really throw PJ on Al. But if they have a smaller lineup, then that would
I'm just saying if they're gonna start Robert Williams,
they're not
and Al Horford.
They're gonna start Grant. Rob hasn't even played. He didn't play game.
But they said he was supposed to be active.
All right,
I'm just saying if Robert's back,
I would assume after breaking this Game 7 3-point record that Grant Williams is gonna stay in the starting lineup. So
I don't know. They look a lot. I feel like they had a great game, but at home, but they looked better as a team to me when they had Robert Williams.
The front court is easier for me. I would say I want PJ on Tatum. I want actually Strus on Grant.
Yes.
I want Bam on Al Horford. And then Brown, I would throw Jimmy on Brown and Vincent on Smart. However, those matchups, honestly, could Vincent play on Brown a few possessions? Absolutely. Or if it's Lowry, sure. Oladipo, I was really impressed with what he did to Harden.
Yes.
I think Brown
That's why Duncan
should be better than Harden.
It's why Duncan Robinson won't get play time.
Yeah.
Because who do you put him on? Marcus Smart?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are my matchups. I don't know. What do you think about that, John?
So I think the one point that I think... One point I don't want to say worried about, but that has to happen. Bam cannot let Al Horford score 30 points in a game if he's a primary defender. When he's a primary defender, he cannot let Al get cooked.
That goes without saying. Bam, I don't even think that's possible.
Bam's defensive... What do you mean it's not possible?
No, if Bam... Well, the thing is, the thing about Al Horford, John, is especially the way he scores all those points, is he just starts hitting those threes, and he's going to pull Bam out of the paint.
Right.
So what we might do is... Maybe Bam is off on someone else, but it's not like they're playing 5 out all the time anyway. Yeah. So
I'm just saying, like, we cannot allow. So you're right. I won't say Bam. It's not just like a one.
Yeah, it's really our team. It's a team thing. If Al Horford gets 30, it's a team.
Yes, and the reason that worries me is because if they got Robert in, they got some size, and they were able to handle the Bucks size, right? Because the Bucks are freaking huge too, with Bobby Portis and Giannis and Brook Lopez often, in the same lineup together. So to me, that's the one thing I worry about is the size, because we struggle with those big teams.
Yeah, and
so I hope you're right. I hope Grant Williams is starting. But I think they have a chess move. I disagree,
John.
They have a chess move there with Robert Williams starting.
I think Grant Williams, if Rob Williams starts with Al, then it makes our life harder to try to get in the paint, which is maybe what we need to get us going before we can start hitting our threes. But on the other end of things, then Bam can start on Rob, and Rob isn't stretching the floor. Now Bam can float more, and he can protect the paint. Whereas if he's on Al Horford's stretching you out a little bit more, and now he's not in the paint as much, and that's more. Fair. That's gonna be put more pressure on the overall team.
But rebounding, it works because then what happens?
Rebounding,
Tucker is on Horford, and I think Horford's on Tucker, and I think Horford
maybe we do have Tucker on.
My point is Horford's not the most mobile guy. He's not gonna I think Horford could stick with PJ relatively well, even though PJ's a much smaller player.
Wait, what do you mean? You mean on the other end?
I'm saying if Horford's guarding PJ, right? Who do you put Horford on?
Dude, Horford just did a great job on Giannis, honestly. So I think Horford can guard anyway.
Yes. So that's my point is the rebounding numbers, that's something that might worry me. Is Bam gonna just grab every board because we're gonna need Jimmy to get in there?
It's gonna come down to that. There's one.
So I feel like if they go big, Alex, I feel like that's a chess move to have.
Whatever inside tracks or whatever it is, mic'd up, and Spo. There's one clip of Spo going, guys, we need to crash your boards. We need to rebound. It can't just be Bam, and that's gonna be a theme honestly throughout this series, because if it's just Bam, we don't. It's gonna hurt us. You know what Pat Riley always says: no rebounds, no rings. Right?
Yeah.
So all right, John, I think it's time. Why don't we make our official picks for the series?
I feel like I'm gonna end up qualifying because I'm soft. Okay. But listen, it's let's talk narrative, okay? So I think you go through. I think we win game 1. I do think that. But there's a world in which
a little rest versus rust.
Yeah, and I think there's a world in which they come out and look like they have momentum right now. Grant Williams feels great. That could either be a bad thing or a good thing for them. I think if it ends up being a good thing, where he can't shoot 17 threes again. I don't think you can win like that with game 1. It ended up happening at home because he got hot. But if he starts chucking and it's not going in, which he had the best game of his life.
He's not going to be that open. I'm sorry.
He had the best game of his life. It would be surprising if he's able. No, I am because I'm saying the momentum they have right now is.
Well, everyone was great. They were shooting lights out.
No, but Grant Williams is your leading scorer. That's a fluke. It's fluky. So I'm saying, what do I think's gonna happen? I think the Heat have to come out and we have to look great at home, like we have. We're 6-0 at home. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we got to take care of business at home. Game 2, what happens? He go up 1-0.
Yeah, you'd expect Boston to win that game.
If Boston wins that, now I'm saying, okay, we have not looked great on the road. We won Game 4 against Atlanta on the road, and we won Game 6 against Philly on the road. But we looked horrible in Games 3 and 4 against Philly, which again I do push that on the Kyle Lowry was just hobbled. He was chucking. Our guys got cold, but Philly was fluky, hitting all these shots at the end of the. At the end of the shot clock, I saw some statistics about it, about how the last 6 seconds of the shot clock they were shooting 60%, something crazy, right? So they had a fluky game. That was game 4. However, and of course game 3 against Atlanta was close, whatever. But I think I haven't seen our role players prove that they can show up on the road yet. And I don't trust our role players to as much as I rely on Tyler Hero to show up on the road, Bam to show up on the road, and Bam did. And
Jimmy's a given.
Jimmy is there. Jimmy. So you need and you need ideally one of your shooters to get hot. Yeah. You needed one little
you need Vincent. You need
there was a moment.
If Lowry can get hot, because when Jimmy's are obviously our number 1 guy on offense. It was always Goran as well, the past few years. But now we don't have Goran. It has to be, if it's not going to be Bam or Hero, it has to be Lowry. And right now he's hurt.
Right.
So,
and game 4, Alex, that fluky game I talked about where the Sixers was hitting all these shots at the end of the shot clock, right? They had all that. They had a crazy James Harden game, right? He had 31.
Probably one of the best players
of his career. All that, and they only beat us by 8 points. Yeah. Okay, and we shot. I can't remember the number. We shot 20%, 5 for 30. We shot I think we shot 16%. It was probably one of our worst shooting games of the playoffs. Okay, so they needed all that to beat us by 8 on the road. So again, if you get, and you know what there was, and I think this was on the 5 Recent Sports, they either tweeted it or they were, talking about in the pod. There was a moment where we were making our run, and you're like, you know what? There's usually a little spurt here that hero goes on that gets us there.
Yeah.
So to me, here's X Factor. So again, to return back to your question, you asked me, you asked me who's gonna win the series, what I think's gonna happen. If hero's not there, it's done. Like I'm the Celtics are beating.
Well, we need
us.
at least a few quality games from him.
You need at least 2 great games from him. You need the Tyler Hero game.
Yeah.
You need Bam to show up. And I'll be honest that I don't think they've given me. I think they can still do it, but against the best defensive team in the NBA, right? That's what Boston is.
Yeah.
I do have reason for concern. So if the gun's to my head, I'm probably picking the Celtics. Wow. And I think we killed them in 2020. And that was embarrassing. And for Tatum and Brown, you can't lose to us again.
Wow.
If Tatum's that guy, you don't lose to us again. You're favorite.
This actually kind of reminds me of.
I love playing that card. Your favorite, you better win. Even though like with the Warriors, I don't think they should.
That's funny. Now I feel very similarly to how I felt last year as we played Milwaukee, because we had just beat Milwaukee and we upset them, gentleman's sweep that the year before in 2020. 2021 is like, oh well, are they really gonna lose to us 2 times in a row? And they have Giannis and they have all these title hopes, and then they crushed us. So. Yeah, in a lot of ways, the team trajectory-wise, the Boston's on the way up. The Heat are kind of more. We're much better. I'll say we are better than that year. But should they beat us? Yes. I'm not picking them. All right, I'm not picking them.
I picked Heat. I'm
gonna trust my guys. So. I'm gonna trust, and you know what? It goes deeper. It runs deeper than Tatum and Brown versus Jimmy and Bam, or Hero versus Smart or whoever else. Right? For me, it's organizational. It's Pat Riley, okay? It's Eric Spoelstra.
This is good. I need you to give me this pep talk. Give me this pep talk right here.
Pat Riley, especially we just watched, Winning Time documentary. It's so good to see the portrayal of Riley on the beginning of his career.
We got to do a whole episode on
we
that.
do.
We got to binge it.
And all of the amount of times they said fuck Boston and that, is healing my soul. So, Pat Riley does not want to lose to these guys. Danny Ainge's out of the building, but, so maybe there's a little bit less of a chip on his shoulder. But Pat Riley, I trust Pat Riley. I trust Eric Spoelstra, what they're going to be able to cook up. And, I'm going to go with our guys. I will say Heat in 5. No, I'm just saying Heat in 5, but really probably Heat in 7.
Okay.
Give me us in Game 7.
All right.
I'll take it in Miami. Come on. In FTX, in AAA. Let's do it.
But
let's freaking do it. We got home court for a reason. All right?
I agree. So this is my thing. I think we do it if we win all our home games. But do we win on the road?
No, I have faith.
We win on the road?
I have faith. And if not, if we go,
so you're saying we win on the road?
Yeah, I'll say we will win on the road.
Or you could say no. I think the home team will win every game. You could say that. I could see the series.
I would be
going
shocked if we went up 2-0 on Boston.
I wouldn't.
I would give them. I
would not be shocked.
I have too much respect for them. I don't think they're gonna go down 0-0.
No, because I think they couldn't. I think they could win 2 straight games in Boston though. Like I think that's what it could look like.
That's true. Like
look what happened in Philly.
Maybe they even win Game 5, go up 3-2. We win game. So whatever.
Right.
I'm not really getting into the weeds of that, John. I'm just gonna say Heat in 7. We're gonna go with a Miami Dallas rematch, and the Heat are taking.
I mean, that's what I'm rooting for.
That's what we're going with. Dallas versus Miami, and then Miami's taking it home, John. You picking? It seems like you're picking Boston versus Dallas.
So yeah, and you know what? I want to talk about this too. Russillo and Simmons were talking about how does the NBA? What's the best series for the NBA? Like, is it Warriors Celtics? Like, what do they want to see?
Probably.
And Bill Simmons said he's like, I think they win anyway, because even if it's Heat, Mavs, where it's like the Heat aren't the most like talkable team that ESPN can talk about, whatever, and they could make the biggest storyline. They're just gonna push the Luka thing. Yeah. They push the Luka thing and the Tatum thing and these 2 new stars. We don't need Steph and KD and LeBron and those old guys, right? But I think it's probably like, I think Celtics Mavs is probably what I would say, just because they like. ESPN and the league they're gonna like having Tatum and the Celtics in there more so than the Heat, but I'm rooting for Heat Mavericks.
Yeah.
So
am I, dude. So am I. Let's make it happen. Hopefully, it's not Celtics Warriors.
And hopefully, we're gonna be in Boston for games 3 and 4.
Yeah.
I would love to get to Game 4 is the day of our graduation, so that's unlikely.
Yeah. But if not, we'll be in Miami. We'll be back in Miami. Maybe we can go to one of those games. In any case, it's been a good one, John. This has been the last podcast that we will do on Boston College campus. Probably. I guess there's still a chance that we could do one over the next week. But
Oh no, I wouldn't count it out for sure.
Yeah, let's not count
Come
it
on.
out.
I
So
mean,
this might be
imagine
the
a
last
crazy. Imagine the Heat go up 3-0 and we go to game 3. Yeah.
But it's been a pleasure. It's been a major pleasure out here on the Heights. So John and Alex Safey signing off from Ignacio Hall.
Roll Eags.
Roll Eags.
Nah, I think we could do another one.
And as always,
Go Heat.
go Heat.